Check Podcasts.
Hi, I'm Bruce Williams. I'm the CEO of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Chamber Chats, coming to you as always from here in the podcasting studios at the Czech Media Group, one of our chamber champions. I would like to begin, as always, by acknowledging that I live and work in the unceded ancestral territories of the Lekwungen-speaking nations, the Songhees and the Esquimalt. And of course, Chamber Chats is made possible by the support of Island Savings, a division of First West Credit Union, some people who have local experts for solutions as unique as your business. When we look at Canada, we are a country, when colonization began, built on immigration, right? Indigenous peoples have been here for millennia. They've been here for thousands of years. But as our population started to change, it was immigration that brought people here. Immigration has made us strong. It's made us diverse. It's made us what we are today as a non-Indigenous culture. We're going to talk about that today with an organization that's doing something to help us all better understand what multiculturalism is, and perhaps have a better understanding of what drives people to have racist behavior. Unfortunately, it does happen, as we know. The organization is called the Kulea Culture Society, and three people from that organization are with us today. Sylvia Munge Elena is the founder. Sylvia, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Griselda Martin is on the board of the organization at Kulea. Griselda, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Nice to have you here. And Carlos Ramon is also on the board of Kulea. Carlos, how are you?
I'm Carlos Ramon. Thank you for having us here. It's a great opportunity.
Thank you. Sylvia, you're the founder of this whole thing. I'm going to start with you with a question we very often do on Chamber Chats, and that is, if you meet someone for the first time and you tell them that you're with Kulea Culture Society, and they say, "What's that?" What's your answer?
Right. What is my answer? And it took a long time to come up with an answer. It took a lot of time in the sense that it took a lot of experience living here in Canada. It took a lot of experience in growing myself as a person and as a Black woman in a world where I am the minority, or in a part of the world where I am the minority. So it took a lot of thinking, and to come up with this, and I realized that I love people and I love culture, and I realized how fortunate I was to be living in a place where it's welcoming, in a place that is welcoming to people from all backgrounds and all cultural differences. So when I came up with the name, Kulea is a Swahili word that means to nurture. And so I knew that I wanted to nurture what I had, and what I had pick from other cultures, and all because I lived in 6 different countries before I came here to Canada. And so I realized how different the cultures were, but how they had in common many things as well, right? So I came up with I think nurturing is the right thing, because we want to nurture the culture that we bring from where we come from, but also we want to immerse in the culture of the other country that is hosting us. So it was a mix of nurturing, a mix of respecting, a mix of embracing, and a mix of respecting and realizing how enriching is to meet other people and to meet people from other cultures, and how much it can bring to you and to your thinking. So, and that is how this came about. So Kulea Culture Society is a society whose purpose is to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion in our society, in our communities. And we do it through events such as Kitchen and Culture, such as Colourful Business, and such as Who is Your Hero, that we celebrate every year for International Women's Day.
So we're going to loop back on your story as to how you got here, because 6 different countries, that's a pretty cool story. And we'll talk more about those other elements too. Griselda, let's go back to you for a second. Tell me about the journey and the trip that brought you to Canada. Why did you choose to live here, and how did that happen?
Well, I can say if I pick Canada, Canada picked me, because I married with a Canadian gentleman in Venezuela. And after being living in Canada, the situation in Venezuela was political, not very good at the moment, 22 years ago. And I decided to send my children to study in Canada. And I remember it was exactly September 11 when the 2 towers went down. And honestly, I never been separated from my children. And being there in Venezuela and my children here in Canada, so we decided to move to Canada and stay here with our children and taking care of them. So that's the reason I came directly to Victoria. And I decided, well, you know what? I'm here. Let's open the door to move all the family here and create a nest. And I'm here 22 years ago.
And we're glad that you're here. Carlos, you have an interesting story about what brought you to Victoria. Tell me that story.
Well, yeah, I was a dentist back in Colombia, and I was trying to find some ways to get more experience and to get a change in my life. And my sister was living here in Victoria. So she proposed me to come here to Victoria to have like a new experience. And I found this course at Camosun related to marketing. Why dentistry and marketing? This is a big question that has no real answer right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the way I found a new journey. And that's like a brief story about how I arrived here in Victoria. And I've been having a great time. And it's been an amazing time in my life.
That's right. And you're a pediatric dentist. Is that correct?
Periodontist.
Oh, periodontist.
And
Sorry. Okay.
yeah, I was treating the gums and the bone. So that was my specialty.
Right. And you're studying now at Camosun College, taking marketing. Okay, Sylvia, let's go back to you for a second. Hear this whole story about the different countries that were on your trip that ended up in Canada. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, when I was, and thank you, Griselda and Carlos, for sharing this, because even though we don't mind talking about our background, it's always a point of vulnerability. So thank you for sharing. Oh, well, so as I was saying, my parents immigrated to Spain when I was 8. I was born in West Central Africa in a country called Equatorial Guinea, which was colonized by the Spaniards. That was the only sub-Saharan country that the Spanish got to colonize. And so when I was 8, my parents immigrated to Spain. So I grew up in Spain until the age of 22. Then I packed my backpack and I traveled to Europe. I went to London, England, where I started to learn English. And then from England, I saw Spain, England, London, England, Helsinki, Finland, Copenhagen, Denmark, Brussels, Belgium, and Dublin, Ireland. And then we moved here. I met my partner, my ex-partner, in London, England, and because of his job, I got the fortune to travel to all these different countries following his career. And he's Canadian, and that is how we ended up here once he retired.
So as I said in the beginning, I'm one of those people that believes that diversity is one of the strengths of this country, that immigration and in some unfortunate cases, refugees have come to this country, but they've made us stronger, they've made us more diverse. I want to talk a bit more about that, about how that multiculturalism and diversity makes our country stronger. On Chamber Chats today, we're speaking with some folks who represent the Kulea Culture Society. They are all people who are considered to be new Canadians. They've come here from other countries and providing us with a better understanding of the cultures that were home to them originally, but what they bring to enrich this country. So, Carlos, I'm going to start with you on this. In your perspective, what is it about multiculturalism that makes this country stronger?
Canada, as you said, is a country that was built by migration. And it's been built by migration, and many migrants have been settled themselves here as the new land. And Canadian society is very open to new cultures. That's why I'll say that Canada is a very strong country in multiculturalism, because it's open for newcomers and is constantly finding ways to build the community based on migration, to grow the communities based on migration. So, as you said, we came here looking for new opportunities, and here we are with wonderful opportunities in this beautiful country.
Yeah. So Griselda, you've come here, you work in finance and banking now, so you see sort of a business perspective and how people manage their finances and things. But tell me from what you see, how is it that multiculturalism makes us that much stronger?
Well, particular in my opinion, because I'm working in the financial institution, Canada receives every day newcomers, and those newcomers bring with them a career, very strong desires to work and to growth in a new place. So the newcomers bring to Canada, first of all, some bring money, but let's be clear,
Sure.
some bring money. And other ones, the workforce. We can good examples like a Mexican who they work and picking the blueberries, all that kind of scene. And new people like an example of Carlos, who is a dentist in his country, but now and is studying marketing. But I can put an example of much people. In a kitchen and culture, the program where I am a project manager, I can tell you we do have chef. We already have a small restaurants here, and they're cultivating and maintain the cuisine and here in Victoria. So the immigration is necessary, and it's a good opportunity to growth in our country.
And Sylvia, you're completely immersed in this. I mean, you are so driven and driving of this whole idea of understanding and embracing multiculturalism. So tell me your perspective on that. How does this multiculturalism make Canada a stronger and better country?
Canada is the first country in the world that adopted Multiculturalism Act. It became law in 1988. So that tells you something, So when a country decides to make a multiculturalism an act and that act become a law, is that because the country truly sees the benefit of diversity in our country, right? So and this act, this multiculturalism policy, which acknowledged that all cultures bring intrinsic value, and solidify the Canadian government as one that is committed to promoting a diverse multicultural society. So, and this tells it all, Canada was built, as you said, Bruce, at the beginning, through immigration. We needed to build this country, so we brought what it was needed. We brought the Chinese, we brought the Ukrainians, the Polish, the German, the Blacks from the Caribbean and from Africa. So and all this, and now the South Americans people as well. So all this has brought this labor, also money, like finance, like my friend was saying, Griselda, and this has bring a lot of innovation and a lot of richness to our country, and that's why our country is one of the best countries in the world.
And the other thing that it brings is music and food and dancing,
definitely,
and all that stuff that kind of shakes things up.
Definitely. Everybody should dance.
Absolutely. Maybe we all should after we do this taping here. But kitchen and culture is something that you do that's not sort of a straight education. It's kind of a combination of cultural and cooking and social and all the rest of it. Tell me about that.
Right. As I said, Kulea Culture Society, this is one of the programs that we have at Kulea Culture Society. I was thinking, how can we showcase the people, because this was born during the pandemic. And I thought that was a great opportunity to showcase people in their home, how Victoria is changing and how our community is changing, So I thought, okay, how better than to talk to teach this or to showcase this with food and with culture. So we come up with the idea of having a cooking program that new immigrants that are passionate about cooking, they can teach a dish from their country of origin, and then tell people the story of the migration story to Canada. And it worked. It was a very successful program during the pandemic, and now we are going to start our third season next month in October. So it has been very well received. It has been very well accepted, and people love it. So we are going to do one more season. And we were lucky to find Griselda, and she's in charge of. She's now the project manager of Kitchen and Culture.
Right. So Kitchen and Culture, both Carlos and Griselda instruct in that, and they cook in that. We're going to talk about that next. On Chamber Chats today, we're talking with folks from the Kulea Culture Society, an organization that is helping us all better understand and better enrich our lives by having more to do with people who have come to this place from another country and some of the understandings of all of that. So let's quickly talk about the cooking stuff, and then we're going to talk about something called Colourful Business. Griselda, you're one of the people that does the cooking within the Kitchen and Culture program. What do you cook? What do you show people how to do?
And actually, yes, I cook arepas, which one they are very famous dish in Venezuela. I did a show with my daughter and granddaughter. So we are very passionate about that, the arepas, because we had arepas for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. So you maybe know they had a famous food truck here. They call the kitchen, the Panas Kitchen, and they sell arepas. I still have some viewers who still send me message about how I can do the arepas, because it's like a little easier, but it's no, because the dough have to be specifically. But yes, I was part of the show, and that's how I fell in love for Kitchen and Culture. So when I participated on the show, when I saw the rest of the chef, and I saw then not only cooking, the passion. So I have to be clear, when you move from different country to Canada or to another country, one thing you miss is your food. And that is what I believe Kitchen and Culture are creating to the viewers. Show to them that when we move to another country, we miss our food, and we like to share with them the delicious. And I think most of the Canadians love eat the international food. So yeah, so we, as Sylvia say, the self-season is coming, and we have amazing 6 new chefs from 6 different countries.
Very cool. Carlos, you're a cook guy too. What is it that you do?
I did a shrimp cocktail. That is like an easy kind of dish to share with people. And we did it with plantains in 2 ways. We did it with shrimp, and actually like a vegan version with mushroom. So we have both versions for the people who can or who cannot or don't like to eat seafood. So that was like a real traditional Caribbean Colombian dish.
Can you do that with West Coast prawns as well as shrimp?
Yes, yes.
That's good.
That.
Just pulling the local card there. I want to talk about racism. It's something that we probably don't talk about enough. It's something that's probably a bit more prevalent than a lot of us would like to admit. I find it disappointing. It frustrates me. It puzzles me. I really don't get it. Sylvia, what's at the root of all that? I know that's oversimplifying a very large issue, but what is at the root of that?
Well, there is many things, but I want to start with fear of the unknown, and fear of the unknown, fear of what we don't know, unfamiliarity with things and with people, and also stereotypes. Stereotypes are very, very detrimental. The stereotypes are not good. They were invented. It's a social construct. So when we don't know something, we tend to think, or we tend to draw our knowledge from stereotypes, right? And that is the problem, right? Stereotypes are not good. So it comes from there. People don't know what they don't know, and then when they don't know it, instead of being curious, and instead of thinking, why am I feeling this way? What's going on? Instead of questioning themselves, they question the other, and the other person. So and that is basically it. And racism is a social construct as well. It's more power and economics, right? And the source, and somebody has to pay for it. And so who pays for it? The people that have less power and have been oppressed historically, right? And so that's how it goes. But
yeah.
people now, but now we live in an era where there's so much information out there that if you don't know, it's because you don't want to.
Yeah, I think undereducated goes along with that too. A lot of people just are not completely up to speed on everything they should and should know and understand a little bit better. But we could talk all day about that, but we'll do that maybe another time. There's something coming up that the Chamber is supporting. It's something called Colourful Business. We were there last year. We'll be again this year on November the 4th. Carlos, I'm going to start with you because you're the guy that's kind of helping raise the funds that will make Colourful Business happen. So tell me about it.
Yeah, well, Colourful Business is a wonderful idea. It's based on the Kulea Culture Society principles of getting rid of racism, classism, and what we want is to bring First Nations, newcomers, Black people, minorities, and then they will be able to show what they're doing, to show their businesses, like to highlight the small businesses around the Greater Victoria. And the great thing about Colourful Business is a free event. We're going to provide a workshop, and they're going to have their spot to show their businesses. So, yeah, this is mainly what Colourful Business is about, is to break these barriers and to help them to showcase and then potentially grow their businesses all around this area.
Yeah, it's a November 4th at the Royal BC Museum. And Sylvia, as I said earlier, it also involves the dance and the music and the food that came with all these folks that came. And that's a big part of the day too, isn't it?
It's very important. Entertainment is very important for most cultures and for every culture. In every culture, you will find people that are passionate about arts, and dance and music, is part of the art. So yes, all our events, all our programs have arts.
Yeah, the Chamber is very proud to be supporting that, along with the Indigenous Prosperity Center and a few others too. Details on all of that and how you can get involved with everything that's going on at Kulea is on their website, which is kuleaculturesociety.org. Thank you to the three of you for your time and your insight into all of this today. Griselda Martin is on the board, Carlos Ramon is on the board, and Sylvia Mangue Elena is the founder of the Kulea Cultural Society. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
Yes, it was. I'm Bruce Williams. We'll see you again for another Chamber Chat.